Hello. Today we will look at how do I sketch with gouache and how can you improve on sketching your gouache portraits. Let's see what I do in the process and how. Well, the sketchbook I have here is the Masuri watercolor sketchbook. The paper is textured and its weight is 300 grams per square meter. It's pretty standard for every water-soluble medium. At first, I do a basic sketch either with a colored erasable pencil, usually I use red or green, and that depends only on my mood though. Or I use a watercolor pencil that will mess a bit with the initial layers of my painting because it will get mixed with the paint. And today I will use it because I want to define the darkest spots on my sketch with it initially, and the mess that it can create when dissolved by water will go under the several layers of gouache anyway. Because, as you remember, for me, a gouache painting is like Shrek, it has lots of layers. And now I stick a basic gouache tape that you can buy at any stationery shop or on AliExpress, and it's made out of paper, is easily removed, and protects the edges of your sketch if you like them smooth and clean just like I do. While I'm finishing this, let me tell you that I almost always use references for my sketches just to see the dispersion of light on the face, for example, and I usually use a couple of references, for example, one for the face features and another for the color combinations I want to implement. And I will put the reference pics I chose for this sketch somewhere here if I ever find them again, because I tend to just open the tabs with the Pinterest links while I'm painting and then just close them and never see them again. And regarding the reference choice, dear friends, especially my fellow Instagram artists, you cannot imagine how much better your profile and portfolio would look like if you ever chose for the references something other than Instagram models' selfies. It's very obvious that you just copy everything, like the face angle, the foggy face expressions, etc. I don't want to come across as a person who blames you for these choices because I sometimes do this myself, but I just want to offer you to try to choose the face references from the vintage photos, for example, or some old photos of your family or friends, or even try to make a reference for yourself without the standard selfie angles and poses. The portraits will instantly stand out, I promise. So, the sketch is done, it's time for gouache, and the set I used to paint with is the same, regardless of the size and complexity of my works. I take a simple plate for the palette because I like ceramic materials more than plastic, and for the water container I took just an empty coffee jar. I also take a paper towel that helps me to clean the brushes and control the amount of water in the brush before dipping it onto the palette, and of course I take the gouache itself. I use Winsor & Newton's designer's gouache, and as the colors that I have of this brand are warm in tone, I also take my old Russian gouache from Nevskaya Palitra, so I have the cooler shades of red, green and blue. And the white paint I have is the bigger size because I tend to use it up very quickly. As for the brushes, I use only synthetic and square or flat ones. I almost never use the round brushes just because I tend to mess everything up more with them. And if you look at other gouache artists' painting process videos, you will see that a lot of them do prefer flat brushes as well. The first step of painting for me is the first thin layer of base color, and I always start with the face while painting portraits, and then paint everything else. And the first layer should be of a color shade that you think the face will look overall. Mine here, for example, is with a very distinctive yellow shade, so other tones and colors on the face should fit with the base tone. The second layer of paint is the precise tone mapping of the face, because as you know, our skin has more than one shade at a time. It has some red areas, some where blue and green can be seen, and some areas can be more yellow. And of course I put the cooler tones on the areas where the shade could be. When I like what I see in terms of color tones, it's time to give this portrait some depth. I then mix one of the darkest colors I will have in this painting and go over the spots that should stand out because they are the darkest. After that, it will be much easier for you to see where you should add some color or make a color darker or lighter because you will see the structure better. As I have done this, I add more cool tones on the hair and the areas that should become darker, such as the half of her forehead and under her chin. I don't blend colors as such on the painting, I just mix the color together more and more on the palette and add the small strokes in between the color patches to make them seem blended. When I do this, I start to add more white gouache to the mix, so the paint is thicker, because gouache looks better when you work from thin to thick, just as with oil paint. I also decided to add the orangey color to the area of her face that should be more in a shade, and now I'm just mixing everything together using different colors and trying to work out the structure of the face. I personally don't do this in the process, but you can try to take a photo of your work in progress and make it black and white to see where you need to add more shading and which parts should look lighter or darker. And when you paint an object that, like skin, has a lot of different tones in it, this method can help you out. And if you still don't know what a mirror can do to your portrait, you should try it. Just look at your portrait through the mirror or take a picture and mirror it in some app, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. And if you don't, then there's nothing wrong with your portrait. So, now I have added pure white to the lighter parts of the face to create the highlights, and now it's time for less exciting things. I like to paint and draw faces the most. I start to give the hair its final color, that is almost black, although I mixed this color from red, green, blue and whatever was in my palette at the moment, without using pure black gouache, and this way the finished painting looks much more interesting. I will now paint the ruffles and the background. On the background I will have something purple and blue. I hope it would look like clouds a bit. And the sun or the girl's nimbus will be yellow and white, and I'll try to make it look like it's gold-leafed. And here the color combination comes to play. Remember I told you that the skin should look yellowish? Well, the sun will look yellow and golden as well, but it will be lighter than the face. And the hair, ruffles and background will be purplish. And you know what? Yellow and purple are the complementary colors. And using complementary colors on your painting helps to build the composition, because composition is affected not only by the placement of objects within the frame of your painting, but also by contrast and of course the colors. If you want to hear and see more of how I use colors and contrast to help my composition, let me know and I will make a video about it, because then I need to show you more examples. The background I'm coloring right now will also consist of several layers of paint, and now I'm filling it with the more saturated but at the same time more watered down paint, and by the time I finish the sketch I will go over the background with more thick and toned down paint. I need to do this because, as you can see, now the darkest spot on the painting is the hair, and I don't intend to make it the center of attention, so I need to make the background darker as well. Now it's time for the gold leaf imitation. It will be half white to imitate the bright reflection, and then I will use the yellow in different shades, like pure yellow, and to add the feeling of the gold on the darker parts, I will mix the yellow, white and red to get the warmer, almost orange tone, and the yellow, white and green, because when you look at real gold leaf, you can see the glimpse of greenish tones. And then I work over what I have already done, adding some whites, defining the face and the details in the background, and I will now go over the background with the darker shades of the same colors. And at this point I use so little water just so I can rewet the paint on the palette and make it thick. The consistency of gouache near the finish of your painting should be like a sour cream, or if you want to make sharp white highlights, the paint should be more like a toothpaste even. The final touches are always done to make sure that the contrast is right, that the main object is separated from the background enough for the composition to work just like I imagined it to be, and that the values are right overall. So I take my darkest color mix that should work as black on the sketch and go over some edges and dark areas, and as I don't want it to look too sharp everywhere, I kind of blend the color into the underlying layers by taking a bit more water on the brush. As this is just a little sketch, I think we're done at this point. There's a lot of room to improve the values and add the layers so that everything looks polished, but at this point I think I have achieved the look I was going for. So now it's my favorite part, tape peeling. One of the reasons why I love using washi tape so much is because you can peel it off with no effort whatsoever, and it doesn't ruin the paper as well. If you are using the normal yellow paper tape, it sometimes sticks to the drawing paper a bit too much, and then you have to warm it up, usually with a blow dryer, to make the glue softer. So here's the final result. If you have any questions or you just have anything you'd like to add, please leave a comment. And if you would like to know something in particular about my painting process or anything at all really, I'd love to make a video on it for you. Also, give this video a like if you liked it or a dislike if you didn't. Follow for more upcoming videos and all that jazz, because I want to take this YouTube things more seriously now, and I will be happy to do this for you and not just into the void. Thanks for watching and stay healthy and happy. Bye!